Apocalypse of Ezra. The Apocalypse of Ezra, also known as 4 Ezra, is one of the most significant apocalypses in Second Temple Judaism and early Christianity. This pseudepigraphal text is attributed to Ezra, the scribe and priest who played a crucial role in restoring Jerusalem after the Babylonian exile. The Apocalypse of Ezra addresses themes of suffering, divine justice, and the resurrection of the dead, offering a profound reflection on the fate of Israel and God's judgment. The Apocalypse of Ezra was written around the 1st century AD, during a time of great turmoil for the Jewish people. The destruction of the Second Temple by the Romans in 70 AD was a traumatic event that triggered a crisis of identity and faith in Jewish communities. This apocalypse reflects the theological questions that arose from that destruction. Why did God allow such a disaster? What is Israel's destiny amid so much suffering? The text is written in the form of dialogues and visions in which Ezra converses with angels and God himself, seeking answers to these pressing questions. The tone of the apocalypse is deeply existential, exploring issues such as the suffering of the righteous, the apparent prosperity of the wicked, and divine justice. The Apocalypse of Ezra is structured around a series of visions experienced by Ezra as he seeks answers about Israel's fate and human suffering. These visions include apocalyptic imagery of destruction, resurrection, and judgment. In one of the most important visions, Ezra sees a lion roaring from Mount Zion, symbolizing the coming of the Messiah to defeat evil empires and restore God's kingdom. The text also grapples with the question of divine justice. Ezra questions why the righteous suffer while the wicked seem to prosper. In response, he is shown that the present suffering is temporary, and at the final judgment, the righteous will be rewarded, and the wicked will be punished. This idea of a future judgment where God sets everything right is central to apocalyptic literature, and the Apocalypse of Ezra elaborates on this theology in great detail. In addition to its apocalyptic visions, the text also includes theological reflections on the fate of souls after death. Ezra receives the revelation that there will be a resurrection of the dead, with the righteous resurrected to participate in God's eternal kingdom, while the wicked will face eternal punishment. One of the most significant themes in the Apocalypse of Ezra is the problem of human suffering and how to reconcile it with God's justice. As a prophetic figure, Ezra expresses his anguish and confusion over the suffering of Israel and God's apparent indifference. These questions reflect a deep existential concern that resonated with Jewish communities after the destruction of the temple. Through his visions and dialogues with angels, Ezra comes to understand that present suffering is part of a broader divine plan that will culminate in the final judgment. The righteous, though they suffer in this life, will be rewarded in the life to come, while the wicked, though they seem to prosper temporarily, will receive their punishment in the afterlife. This focus on suffering and divine justice is characteristic of apocalyptic literature, which often addresses communities facing persecution or hardship, offering comfort through the promise of a future judgment where all wrongs will be made right. The theme of the resurrection of the dead is central to the Apocalypse of Ezra. At the end of time, it is prophesied that the dead will be resurrected and their souls judged by God. The righteous will be resurrected to participate in God's kingdom, while the wicked will face eternal punishment. The final judgment is described in dramatic terms, with images of fire, torment, and heavenly rewards. This vision of judgment reinforces apocalyptic theology, which teaches that although evil may seem victorious in the present, God will ultimately deliver justice and reward the faithful. The Apocalypse of Ezra is a deeply theological text that addresses existential questions about suffering, justice, and the fate of the soul. Through Ezra's visions, the text offers a reflection on the divine plan and humanity's ultimate destiny. The central idea is that present suffering is temporary, and God will eventually establish his justice in the world. The emphasis on the resurrection of the dead and the final judgment also reflects an eschatology that developed in Judaism during the Second Temple period, later influencing Christian theology. The promise of a future judgment and the restoration of Israel provided comfort to Jewish communities facing persecution and uncertainty. The Apocalypse of Ezra has been an influential text in both Judaism and early Christianity. While it was not accepted into the Hebrew canon, it was included in some manuscripts of the Christian Bible, and its content has resonated deeply in the theological traditions of both religions. Its focus on suffering, divine justice, and the resurrection of the dead has had a lasting impact on eschatological thought. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Give it a like, comment your thoughts, and share this video with your friends and family.